Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everybody. How you doing? Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hopefully you're doing well. I am going to answer the question, how are you doing? You're going to say you're doing great. And so am I. Not really true, but let's keep it going. Let's keep the dream alive. Let's not shatter let's not break the fourth wall like we're Deadpool. How about that? I'm Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. You can find me here on Fantasy Sports Daily all the time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific, as we talk fantasy sports. On Wednesdays, Thursdays, Friday, we talk football. Halfway through the show. Don't worry. I said halfway through the show. We're not abandoning baseball, as I promised all along. We're going to keep covering baseball until the season is over. On Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we talk baseball for about a half an hour, and then we do football for about a half an hour. About halfway through the show, we start doing that. What are we doing today? Well, let's just toss it on the screen there. It's a smaller breakdown than normal. Wanted to have a little bit of a discussion with everybody, kind of about where we're at this point of the season. So we'll do that. We'll also look at JP Sears, Hunter Brown, David Festa, the closer grid. What are the Diamondbacks doing? We're updating the closer grid, by the way, today. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Ketel Marte, who's having an MVP level season. Lawrence Butler, Luis Robert, Vinnie Pasquantino, Alex Bregman, Masataka Yoshida, Jeff McNeil, Victor Scott. Is he worth the pickup? Ranger Suarez, Gabriel Moreno. And we got some late news here right before the show started about Michael Harris. So we'll talk about those guys as well. Before we get to any of that, remember, you can go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab on the top right corner. And I say it every day, and I know some of you are probably tired of me hearing me say it, right? Just get to the information. Well, I get it. This is also a free show. So let's, hopefully we're trying to gain some customers too. We love doing this free, but we do need to pay our staff and keep the lights on. So if you go to fantasyguru.com, you pay the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can get our football product, you can get any of our products. You can always, as well as I've mentioned recently here, hit up support@fantasyguru.com, support@fantasyguru.com, send an email, say, hey, I'm looking to do this. Usually Ted Schuster answers that. He'd be happy to help you out. We've got the football product available right now. As you can see on the screen, there's just tons of information in this thing. And you see Armando Marsal with us on Wednesdays. You see Tyler Beaker on Thursdays. You see Russell Clay on Fridays. And you can tell these guys know what they're talking about. This is not a slapdick product that we're offering. I was reading some customer service emails, and some random person who's not a member yet at fantasyguru.com said this morning, or a couple of days ago, actually, your product is really expensive. Why? And I'm like, well, number one, our product isn't really expensive. Our product lines up with the industry very well. In fact, we've worked very hard to keep our price point down, despite the fact that we have an excellent product that I would put up against any other company in the business. We've kept our price points reasonable. We've kept them down. So I think that was a mistake for that person to have said that. Again, they don't know. They haven't subscribed to the site yet. For those people that have subscribed, you know what I'm talking about. You get the interaction in Discord all the day. I was in Discord 10 minutes ago answering football questions. I was in there an hour ago answering baseball questions. And the staff does this, right? And we talked, we're doing these podcasts where there's 20 podcasts for the preseason product at fantasyguru.com, which you do get access to if you sign up for the seasonal product, of course. And again, the seasonal product is the entire season, right? It's not just the preseason. It's all the way through the regular season. We were talking about it yesterday, and the fact that, we have all these great tools, and you can see that on the screen. We've got auction draft books. We've got custom league scoring cheat sheets, a mock draft simulator. We've got coaching breakdowns and offensive line breakdowns and rookie breakdowns and dynasty rankings and rookie rankings and PPR rankings and non-PPR rankings and best ball rankings, and a guide on how to do auctions, a guide on how to gamble, wager, all that kind of stuff. We got all that kind of stuff. But we also have the Discord, which is a really powerful tool. And, we're all in there on a daily basis pretty much. And there is the Man's Cave to harass Jeff Mans and watch football games with if you want. There's the seasonal room for football if you want to ask questions there. We have a dynasty room for those of you in dynasty leagues. So we've got all of these opportunities. There's a DFS football room. There's a wagering football room. Like, there's all these opportunities for you, in addition to the articles and the rankings and all that, to get involved. This show is free, but we build on the show with those podcasts that we have in the preseason product. We've got the live stream that's every Tuesday. Jeff Mann's show on Elite Sports on Series XM Fantasy Sports Radio is Monday through Friday. I'm on with him every Wednesday from 3 to 6. That's tomorrow. So we've got many ways to reach you. And Jeff says it all the time on his show on Sirius XM, the largest active community in fantasy sports. We've got a great crew, and you see it here with all of you. I've seen people in the Discord and baseball answering each other's questions, helping out. Same thing in football. Same thing in the chat room here. And by the way, if you're watching this show live, and if not, you're new, welcome. You can leave a comment or ask a question here that we always address at the end of the show. Leave that in the chat room. If you're on YouTube, it's youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. If it's Facebook, it's facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. Either one of those two spots, you can leave comments. I'll see them. You can watch along at Fantasy Guru site on Twitter X. You can always listen after the fact. Yeah, and that's right. You can watch on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter X. You can watch me. Look at the video. Woo! Look at me. You can also go to fantasyguru.com, click that Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. Find the Fantasy Sports Daily section, see the shows there, and you can type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network, whether it's Pandora or Spotify or YouTube Music or Apple Podcasts. We're in all those sources. We're trying to reach out to you in all the ways we can. Live streams, podcasts, shows, articles, Discord. Really hope you take advantage of our opportunity, to become a member of the Elite Mafia. So click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can sign up for the seasonal product. You can sign up for the DFS product if you want to play that game. You can sign up for the wagering product if that's your deal. You can bundle all of them. You can hit up customer support at fantasyguru.com. Send a question and say, Ray, I want to get Ted. Sorry, Ted. I want to get that VIP platinum package. I want to get everything you guys do. Send him a note. He'll help you do that. Lots of opportunities to get involved. And one more little PSA for those of you looking to do best ball. We do have that deal with Drafters we've been talking about all the time, and it's a benefit to you. So if you want to play that Drafters best ball tournament, as you can see, there are $2.5 million in prizes. A lot of money available to win here. If you've never been a member there, use that promo code ELITE. That gets you in there with a 100% match on your deposit, which is a great boost. If you've already been a member at Drafters, Ray, what about us? Elite 10. That gets you 10% match. So don't forget to do that over at drafters.com. All right. Where are we at in 2024 on August 6th of the calendar? This is, and I've been sharing my journey with you all. We talk about it on Mondays when we do the fab stuff. Let me pull it up as we're talking here with Tout Wars. And for Tout Wars for a long while, I was in first place by 12 points. And then all of a sudden, I'm still in first place. My lead is down to 1 point. Another team is now 4 points behind me. Like, this is starting to get tight, and it brings up the fact that every decision you make matters. And at this point of the calendar, if you're in a Roto league, you got 2 months left. If you're in a head-to-head league and you got playoffs, maybe a week or two, and then your fantasy playoffs start, right? So regardless of your setup, we're at that point of the year where things are starting to change. We've talked all along about all these guys dealing with workload concerns. We're going to see that start to come to fruition. We talked about Garrett Crochet on the show yesterday. 5 straight starts, the 4 innings or less. We're going to start to run into that zone of really needing to dig. And in a Roto league, you've been doing it kind of all year long, and it'll just be a continuation of things. In a head-to-head, it's going to get tough. Depending upon when your playoffs start and when your finals end, depending on how successful you are in your league, we're going to run into a zone where, it's going to be difficult to have success unless you grind it out. We're going to be in the zone. I'm looking at a pitching sheet here. We're going to be in the Spears, Carlos Carrasco, Bryce Elder, Kyle Freeland zone. Like, we're going to have to use these guys down the stretch. And so I want to encourage everyone to, be very cognizant of the waiver wire right now, because there are people, especially in those head-to-head setups, that are constantly churning, especially on the pitching side of things, constantly churning through their lineups, constantly making changes. Some leagues I know have open waivers every day. Some leagues I know don't have a limit each week to the number of players you can add. It can be really messy. Now is not the time to avoid paying attention to your waiver wire. Whether you run it once a week, twice a week, every day, it's not just about who's on the waiver wire. Is Austin Gomber or Kyle Freeland a better pickup? Kyle Freeland. Which one of you guys a better? It's also who was dropped last night. That person dropped Chris Flexen last night. We don't give a damn about that. They dropped Kett Marte last night. We don't give a damn about that. Andrew Abbott was dropped last night. Well, we care about that. So pay very close attention to where you're at in terms of the waiver wire. And I'm using my Tout Wars team as an example here. You look at this Tout Wars situation. Let's look. I'm in second place in home runs. I'm 2 behind the leader, and I'm 2 ahead of third place. 2. That's one nice night from one player puts me in first place, or one nice night for somebody else puts me in third place. In terms of RBIs, I'm in first. I have 12 more RBIs than the team that's in second. 12. It's been 4+ months, and I have 12 RBIs more than someone else. Stolen bases is different because that's stratified. I'm second there. On base percentage, I'm in first. But you know how much my lead is in first? I'm 334.8. Second place is 334.7. It's the same thing. Over thousands of at-bats, we're at 1,000th of a decimal point. I mean, that's, the whip. I'm at 1.229. The team behind me is at 1.232. One terrible outing. Strikeouts, I'm 2 behind DVR for the next spot up in the strikeout column. 2. We're in a solds league here, right? But I'm tied with the team at 60 solds, and I'm 2 solds behind 2 other teams. So I lose one hold. I go a week without a hold. I drop into 5th. I have a nice couple of days. I'm in second. Like, that's how tight this can be. So every move, not that every move hasn't mattered all season long, because of course they have, but every move right now really matters because we're setting our team up for that success down the stretch, whether it's in the playoffs or the rest of the season in a Roto scenario. So I know, trust me, I know. By the way, I'm going on a vacation. I know this is shocking. It's my first 2-day actual vacation since COVID, which is sad for me that I haven't traveled more, taken time off. I'm killing myself here. Hopefully you're enjoying the work. I'm actually going on September 13th to 15th, and I'm actually taking it in the second week of the football season, which is bananas for me, but it's just how it worked out. And I've already been thinking to myself, how am I going to handle, and this is sad, how am I going to handle Fab for baseball when I'm out, camping and at the stream? Like, how am I going to do this? I was actually having a discussion with my partner, her and I, 2 nights ago. We were having this discussion, right? You've got to plan this stuff. If you want to win your league, you've got to be committed. I know you want to go to the beach on the weekends. I know you want to drink beer. I know you want to go and have fun. I get all that kind of stuff, but you got to stay attached. End of the line, end of the day, you got to stay attached because it's not going to be easy. How many times have we sat here and had discussions about injury? So stay attached, stay vigilant. Even those minor moves that you don't really, those moves might end up bringing a championship to you in 2024. Let's talk about some of the performances last night. JP Sears, and I think I hinted at him yesterday being in the cash game breakdown. He was. I basically said, use this guy as the second pitcher on DK. DraftKings, you use 2 pitchers each day. FanDuel, you use 1. And what did JP Sears do? He went out and held the White Sox to 1 run over 7 innings. I got the victory. Boom, there it was. It was perfect. I think it was 70. Was it 7,700, 7,100? Very inexpensive second pitcher on DraftKings, and he was terrific. And, the White Sox, speaking of terrific, you couldn't be less terrific. The White Sox, that's 21 losses in a row. I mean, this is scary bad stuff. They have 27 victories this season. They're 41.5 games out of first place. They are, and again, we've talked about this. There's a growing likelihood that Crochet's going to be shut down. They don't have there's no hope of things drastically improving the rest of the way. There's certainly hope that they can improve a 0-for-21 strategy. But they're going to go down as one of the worst teams in baseball history. So whereas, remember when the season started and the A's were terrible, and we said on this show and all the time, and in DFS articles and everything over at FG, said target pitchers against the A's, target pitchers against the A's. Well, we know now it's target pitchers against the White Sox. Period. And we'll talk about Luis Robert here in a second. Period. Okay. Sears, by the way, not to cut JP Sears short, because JP Sears deserves a little bit of a pat on the back, because it was a winnable effort. It was a time that he's got to go out there and get it done, because it's, the White Sox that we're talking about. But this continues a very good run of his. His last 4 starts, he's now 3-1. His WHIP is 101. He's got a 10-1 strikeout to walk ratio. And that includes a game where he got beat down by the Houston team, allowing 8 runs. I mean, since the last start in June, 3 runs, 0, 1, 3, 8, 0, 1. He's been a nice groove, and he's probably on waiver wires in a lot of your leagues. So you might want to check that out. Pitching pretty damn well right now for the Oakland Athletics. Well, I guess soon to be Sacramento Athletics. Oh, gosh. Hunter Brown, next guy up here on the board. Hunter Brown allowed 1 run in 6 innings, got a no decision against the Rangers. And, Hunter Brown was breakout pitcher of the year article. If I'm remembering correctly, I think he was number 2. It's one of those things where his ERA was 16.5 after 3 starts. It was over 16 after 3 starts. And since then, he's made 19 starts. His ERA is 3.14. He has been terrific. It was another quality start last night. That's all he does, is throw quality starts. And his turnaround in season has been remarkable. We talked about the changes he made with his pitch mix. He was, I know that some of you probably dropped him, right? He's been absolutely everything that I anticipated him being after that horrid start. His ERA is down to 3.98, which is still not great. It's still usable, of course, but it's 3.14 over his last 19 starts. He's been so effective. He's going to face the Red Sox this weekend. That's not an easy matchup. That's a really tough test in Fenway. Some trepidation starting him with full confidence there, but I think given how he's pitched and the depth he's given you in games, you're going to have to go with him still against the Red Sox this weekend. But another strong effort for him against the Rangers. And the Rangers got to get going. Are they going to get going? Wrong Carter. Evan Carter looks like he's going to miss the season. White Langford returned last night, but he's been ineffective. Adolis Garcia was dropped to 7th in the batting order by the Rangers. He can't get going. It seems like the only guys that are really going right now are Simeon and Seager. They've had injuries on the pitching staff. They lost Max Scherzer recently. I mean, it's getting tight there for the Rangers. But Hunter Brown, another strong effort against the team that he should have had a strong effort against last night. And it's just basically been 3.5 months of that now. He's been terrific since that start. David Festa last night had 5 shutout innings against the Cubs. And Festa is somebody who I think we can make a valid case is the number 1 pitching prospect with the Twins right now. And he was up, and then he had a couple of nice outings, and he struggled, and he was demoted, and then he's brought back up. He is certainly in the streaming consideration right now in mixed leagues. He's facing the Guardians at home on the weekend. That is not an easy matchup. That is a very difficult team to pitch to. You don't want to go against that club and think you're going to get a ton of strikeouts, because you're not. They don't strike out at all. He's got, 6 strikeouts in each of his last 4 appearances. That's probably not a number he's going to hit against the Guardians. He's only given up 3 runs in the last 3 appearances, though. He was removed at 82 pitches last night, and he hasn't gone more than 5 innings in an outing. So that's the rub with Festa. You're going to get the strikeouts inning again. Not talking about the matchup with the Guardians, but you're going to get the strikeout inning for him. You're probably going to get pretty good work from him. But how deep is he going to go into games? The Twins have been very cautious with him, limiting him in that 80 pitch, 5 inning zone, which makes it very difficult to trust somebody because you qualifying for victory is not even a certainty, right? But he's pitched very well. He's certainly, again, in the streaming consideration. Difficult matchup that next time out. So I don't think he's someone you go add today expecting to get a huge performance against the Guardians. But he is someone to keep an eye on right now because he's pitching pretty well and he's given a lot of strikeout moves. Now, the closer grid will be updated today at fantasyguru.com. And it's wild with a couple of injuries and a couple of trades. Like, normally I make an adjustment or two in each week in the chart, and it's not a big deal. I mean, I had to change 12 teams, like almost half the league. I was really, some of them aggressively. And one of those is a situation that was talked about in the Discord over at fantasyguru.com this morning, was the Diamondback situation. And the question was asked, Ray, who's the closer of the Diamondbacks? And I'll take my best guess when the grid's out today. The short answer, really, though, is There's not a closer with the Diamondbacks now. Well, then who's going to be the closer, Ray, is the next question. And the answer to that question is the same as the first question. I don't know. Justin Martinez got his first save of the season last night. Ryan Thompson struggled before him. They made a move to bring in A.J. Puck, who's been terrific for 2 months now out of the bullpen. They've got Paul Sewald, who's been demoted from the 9th inning, but he's still the guy that they entered the season with. He's still the guy with the biggest track record of success in the 9th inning. There's always a chance he gets back in the 9th inning. So really, we've got 4 guys involved in this. And, you saw this reflected yesterday when we talked Fab. Like, these guys were going for $1 and $2. Like, I'm not the only one that's struggling with this. And it's another reason why, and I'll just say it, you know what's coming, folks, right? It's another reason why you should play in a Souls League. Because then we can worry about who's the best pitcher, who's the most talented guy, not have to be hyper-focused on who's getting the last out. Because most leagues are hyper-focused on who's getting the last out, the answer is we don't know. Hard to say that Justin Martinez isn't in the lead right now. But is that a definitive? I'm going to run away with the job. Is that a definitive that he's even the lead guy? So check out the closer grid that'll be posted later today. When this show is done, I have to complete the cash game breakdown. I then have to record the final football podcast for the 20 preseason podcasts for fantasyguru.com. So the grid may not be out until 6 o'clock Eastern time tonight, something like that. I'll see if I can get it done before then. I may not be able to, just the way my schedule is today, but it will be up today. And for those people that aren't members at fantasyguru.com, you should be. And the chart is one you kind of see everywhere now. And I'm not going to say I invented the chart because I didn't, but it's one, the style of it's been something I've used for 10 years now, where you've got the guys in green that are locked into their role, the guys in white that are pretty comfortable in their role, but there's some questions, and the guys in red, which, oh boy, we don't know what's going on. That red group was small. Now the red group is very large because of all the uncertainty across the league. We list the injured player. We list the closer, the setup guy next in line, and then the third guy in the order. So there's 3 guys listed for each team. So again, that'll be updated later today at fantasyguru.com. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Kett Marte. And I said this earlier, and hyperbole. He's in the MVP conversation. It's not hyperbole. Kett Marte, who's been one of my guys who we've talked about a lot, who had a down season in 2022. Who we at fantasyguru.com were in on in 2023. We had him much higher than the universe had him, and he went out and hit 276 and went 25, 80, 80, 25, 80, 90. He has now got his batting average up to 300. Okay, he's hitting 300. His OPS is over 900. He's got 28 home runs, 78 RBIs, 78 runs scored. He's got a legitimate chance to go 300, 30, 100, 100, 10. Boom. And he is, for those people that haven't noticed this, he is completely freaking out of control right now. His last 12 games, he scored 12 runs. His last 12 games, he's hitting 378. His last 12 games, he's got a 1,300 OPS. And in those 12 games, he's got 8 home runs and 19 RBIs. Out of control. He's out of control. Hit a home run last night, hit a home run the night before that. He's got 4 home runs the last 4 games. He's got an RBI in 7 of 8 games. Like, he's just out of control. And one part of his game that I haven't heard anyone talk about, I was talking about it yesterday with Phil Backert, because I do the cash game breakdown over at fantasyguru.com. I'm always looking at splits and recent performances and trends and all that kind of stuff. Kett Marte has got an OPS against left-handed pitching this season of 1,100. 1,100 against lefty this year in 175 plate appearances. So basically a third of a full season. Let's say all he did was face lefties. Let's say he kept up his current pace against lefties and had a full season of at-bats against them. That's basically what we'd be talking about here. He's hitting 356. So we're talking about him hitting 356 over the course of a season. And oh, by the way, since he has 15 home runs, that's a 350, 45 home run pace against left-handed pitching. 350 with 45 home runs. Wow. So we don't talk enough about how great he's been this season, how stupendous he has been of late. We've had some bets on him over at fantasyguru.com. I know he was in the DFS article yesterday by Chris Rose. I think he was in his core 4. Wasn't in my core 4 yesterday in the cash game breakdown, but he was the number 1 ranked second baseman. Tyler Fitzgerald. So Marte had a home run in his first at bat. Tyler Fitzgerald, who was in the core 4 for both of us yesterday, he had a home run in his first at bat. Like, it started out big last night, and a lot of people had success. And again, you can always sign up. Hit up support@fantasyguru.com if you want to play baseball the rest of the way in the DFS space or in the wagering space. We're happy to help you there. I mean, we're still doing it every single day. And the guys are really, I think the crew is really kind of locked in right now. We're having a lot of success on both sides of things. But Marte's had success all season long, and just wanted to give him those props because those are not just great numbers. Those are massive numbers, especially against left-handed pitching. Lawrence Butler, the next guy on the list here. Lawrence Butler didn't start last night, first time since July 12th. He didn't start the game. That's okay, though, because he came in and had a pinch hit home run. Like, he's, this is, as we've talked about previously, we haven't talked about him in a while, so I just wanted to touch base with him again. He's slowed down. And I mean, Lawrence Butler for about 2 weeks there was the hottest hitter in baseball. He's slowed down. And, he's got a 670 OPS the last week, which sucks. Mark is 900 the last 2 weeks, and the mark is almost 1,100 the last 3 weeks. Like, when we talk about slowing down, he's still got 15 runs in 16 games. And in those 16 games, got 4 runs and 3 steals. In fact, he's got 4 runs and 3 steals with 11 runs scored his last 12 games. So while the slash line is starting to kind of, I mean, no one's complaining about that. He is now up to a season-long pace of about 25-20, right around there. Pretty good for a guy that, wasn't even on rosters until a month ago, right? He is, he's got those holes in his game, and we've seen that start to happen of late. In his last 3 starts, he's had 2 strikeouts in every game. And in 4 of 6 starts, he's had at least 2 strikeouts. So that is something to keep an eye on with Lawrence Butler, because that is an issue for him, making contact. He's been so incredibly hot. The hope, obviously, is that he continues here down the stretch. There are pluses and minuses to his game, as we have discussed previously. More pluses than minuses, absolutely, right now. I don't think he's a ride or die guy. I think he's someone that should be successful the rest of the way. But in terms of his outlook for next season, it's very important what we see here. I'm going to have to assume that the A's are going to let him play. I think I heard it, let him play every day, and plan to do it next year too. I think it was the other day that, by the way, the A's are moving to Sacramento next year, if you didn't know it. The stadium holds like 9 people, and it's 172 degrees every day. They're installing AstroTurf there, which makes it even hotter. It'll probably be 192 degrees on the field. Lawrence Butler was talking about that, saying, hey, man, that ain't cool. I think it was him. We'll dive into the athletics thing as we get closer to next year and all of that. The disaster that organization has become, it's really sad for the players and the fans. But Lawrence Butler getting it done right now, even though the pace has slowed a little bit of late. Now, a very interesting player is up next. Luis Robert's a 30-20 guy. Luis Robert is a dynamic player. Luis Robert is an all-star. He is somebody that people were counting on being a huge piece of their fantasy success this season. And despite the team being terrible around him, no one has moved on from Luis Robert because of his team. This is not a scenario where you panic, because it's still Luis Robert, who's still an extremely talented guy. And you look at his performance, and he's played 59 games only because of all kinds of injuries. And in 59 games, I said he was a 30-20 guy earlier, right? In 59 games, he's had 12 home runs and 15 steals, meaning he's a 30-40 guy pace-wise this year. That's fantastic. Now, the problem is that's all he's really doing. And his numbers right now are not good. He's hitting .210 on the year with a .278 on base percentage. That's not good. 90 strikeouts in 59 games is terrible. Okay. And you look at his performance the last 3 weeks, he's hitting 140 with a 180 on base percentage and a 250 slugging percentage. He has been horrible. He has got 32 strikeouts in 63 at-bats. Vomit City. What do? Most leagues, I don't think you can trade anymore. Even if you could trade, you're not trading him away, because what are you going to get back? You're not going to get Lawrence Butler back for him at this point. You drop him? No, can't do that. Do you start him right now? He's got 3 RBIs in 3 weeks. and he struck out in over half his at bats. Like, I don't think you can start him right now. You can't. Especially if you're in a shallow league, you just can't do it. And you're in a head-to-head setup, it's even worse. Like in a Roto league, you just, I'm going to ride it out. In a head-to-head setup, this guy is utter floatsome. Like, he's still Luis Robert. He's still got that power speed. He's still, it's all still there, but that organization is so in the toilet. I really do worry a little bit about, is there a rebound the rest of the way? Is there an injury coming? Is there a shutdown coming? And again, that's not fair, but it's got to be something you think about. Regardless, his inability to even put the bat on the ball. Like, we spent a lot of time in Discord over at fantasyguru.com and in articles at FG talking about Adolis Garcia and the disappointment people have for him. I mean, again, he's got 12 home runs and 15 steals, so maybe that's fine, but he's only played 59 games as Luis Robert, and he has been absolutely pathetic for 3 weeks. Absolutely pathetic. I'm surprised more people aren't bitching about him. Maybe they've just written it off because it's the White Sox and the season's kind of lost, but he's in a funk right now, and his OPS on the year is nearly in the 600s. Really bad for him. Now, on the flip side, let's talk about Vinnie Pasquantino for a second, who he ain't doing that at all. He is the exact opposite of that. He is somebody that started slowly and has really found his stroke. And he's been in the cash game breakdown a lot over at fantasyguru.com. The price point is not onerous at all. You look at him on the year, and he's up to 80 RBIs with 16 home runs. He's not a big power guy. We know that. I think a best case scenario would have put him at 25 home runs this year. I would have said, let's go 18 to 20. Certainly he's got an ability to surpass that. There's a chance he gets to 25 home runs. It's certainly possible, especially with the way he's been swinging it lately. But if he goes 20-100, that's really good. Now, he's hitting 265 with a 321 on base percentage. Given his lack of power as a corner infield guy, he's okay. But we need those numbers to be 280 and 340, right? Like, we really need those numbers to be better. They're just not. So why are we talking about him? Well, because again, he's on pace to go 20-100. And the last 3 weeks, in opposition to Luis Robert, the last 3 weeks, Pasquantino has been killing it. He is hitting 360 the last 3 weeks. Oddly, he's only got 3 walks, which is strange because you would think if he's blazing hot, it's because he's controlling the strike zone and he's taking these walks. He's controlling the strike zone. He only has 8 strikeouts and 70 at bats. He's not walking, but that's okay because he's hitting 350 and his slugging percentage is 600. All right. So he's damn near got 1,000 OPS the last 3 weeks. He's got 5 home runs and 18 RBIs in those 17 games. As I mentioned, his contact rate is through the roof. He's only got 59 strikeouts all season long in 110 games, only 8 the last 17. And he is part of a Royals team that is much better than I think a lot of people realize. And when I say he's gone, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs the last 3 weeks, that's true. His last 7 games, he has 5 home runs and 13 RBIs. So I short shifted him by not talking about, he's been hot for 3 weeks, but he's been blazing for the last week. And when you look at this, games of 2, 3, 4, 2 RBIs, the 4 home runs, I'm looking at it now. He's got 5 home runs in his last, 7 games. It's actually 5 in his last 6 games. So Vinnie Pasquantino has had an up and down effort on the year. I think that is totally fair. He started out really slow, but right now he is one of the better corner infield options in baseball right now. He is a very polished hitter who's someone who makes a lot of contact, good ballpark, good lineup, good atmosphere. I'm looking for him to have a strong finish to the season. Not this level, because come on. But a strong finish, I think it's very doable for him. Alex Bregman's the next man up. Bregman continues to be a frustrating-ish own in the fantasy space. In my leagues, I'm in 14, 15 teamers. I have him in a couple leagues. I've never taken him out of my lineup. It's just like, what am I going to do? If you're in a 10-team league, you're looking at him and he's got a 715 OPS and you're like, He's got 15 home runs. You're like, 52 RBIs, 54 runs scored. These are not good numbers. They're not, And, he hit a home run last night. He's got 3 home runs his last 10 games. He's making good contact as he always does. Kind of just meh. And the problem with Bregman is that the measurements, right, the StatCast data, it doesn't pop. It never has. It never will. It's just not, and I've seen a lot of people talking about his training regimen, let's call it, and it's funky. And as a former player, as someone who used to study, I studied video of my own swing when I was 13 years old. My coach had a batting cage in his backyard and a VCR and a camera. And you'd take a round of BP, you'd film it. We'd go in there and I think he had 23-inch TV. We'd watch it. We'd go back out, take another round, film it, go back in and watch it. I was doing film analysis when I was 13, and I'm in my 50s now. So that was really advanced for that period of time. And so I've broken down quite a few swings in my life. I watched Bregman swing, and it's choppy, it's stiff. There's the follow through. Like he punches at the ball. He doesn't snap. It's not. In his training regimen, he does all these weird things, and I don't know. He's trying to. It's in that more in that Luis Arias zone than a guy that's supposed to be hitting 25 home runs with 90 RBIs. Like, so, all things considered, he's been perfectly acceptable, Alex Bregman. The problem is he wasn't drafted to be perfectly acceptable. He was expected statistically to be better than that. He hasn't been. Are there any great signs the last 3-4 weeks that it's going to get better? No. Does have the 3 home runs in the 10 games. I mean, it wouldn't be a stunner if he, had 20 home runs and 80 RBIs this year. He's going to need a strong finish. Could absolutely do it. The Astros really need to get going here. Like, Yordan Alvarez continues to hit 300 with the 400 on base percentage, and he doesn't have RBIs anymore. There's never anyone on base. The offense is sputtered. Kyle Tucker was supposed to miss a couple of days, missed 2 months. We still don't know. I guess it's maybe September. Like, we still don't know with Kyle Tucker. My gosh. They really need Bregman. The offense, the lineup itself needs Bregman to get going. We'll see if he can, but there's not any overt signs it's going to get appreciably better the rest of the way. Masataka Yoshida, who had 4 hits last night, I think, right? Who, he's had issues staying healthy. He's had issues with his defense. He's had issues with other guys just being better and deserving bats over him, to be frank. He's in a nice little groove right now. His last 14 games played, he's got 10 RBIs. He scored 9 runs. His last 10 games played, he's got 9 runs scored, 9 RBIs. There you go. Big effort last night certainly helped things with the 4 hits, a couple of runs. He's had games of 3 and 4 RBIs here the last 10 games. He's only struck out 34 times in his 230 plate appearances. So, as we know, much like Alex Bregman, doesn't strike out. He's got a better than 50% walk to strikeout ratio. Would love seeing that. He's hitting 277 on the year, which is perfectly fine. He's got a 352 on base percentage as well. Because, again, his on base percentage his last 14 games is 430. So, we're looking at him basically having the same batting average and on base percentage as he did last year, which is perfectly usable. The real issue for him is that he hasn't stolen a single base this year. It was only 8 last year, but he hasn't stolen a single base this year, none. And his slugging percentage down 50 points. Yeah. So right now he's in a groove. He's got 5 games in his last 10 where he's had double-digit hits. As I noted there, his last 14 games got a 429 on base percentage. He's in a nice groove. He's in the lineup daily. Limitations, but he's not a bad pickup at all if you're looking to that waiver wire to get a little boost in the outfield. Jeff McNeil, same kind of thing. Jeff McNeil is I'm in a deep league and I need a 3-week boost kind of player, right? Qualifies in the infield, qualifies in the outfield. Okay. For those people that don't know, he is a 290 career hitter with a 352 on base percentage. Every guy we're talking about here, Marte, Butler, Robert, Pasquantino, Bregman, none of them are 290 hitters with a 350 on base percentage for their career. Like Jeff McNeil is. Now, there's no power here. He doesn't steal bases, and he's just a dude. But still, there are some uses for him, and we've seen that reflected in his performance of late. The last 3 weeks, he's played 17 games. He has scored 15 runs. He's hitting 360. He's got an 1,100 plus OPS. Remember I said he doesn't have power? He really doesn't. One season of 15 home runs in his career. One season of 11 home runs in his career. He's got 5 home runs the last 17 games. And you look at the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 370 with the 420 on base percentage and a 650 slugging percentage with 12 runs in 13 games. Now he's hitting in the middle of the lineup, and he should be hitting 2nd or 8th. Like, he should not be hitting in the middle of the lineup for the Mets, but they're breaking up the bats and the righties and the whole thing. and he is grooving right now. And because of his flexibility in second base and in the outfield, I know a lot of you say, again, we talked about this yesterday, I'm in a head-to-head league. I don't have many bench bats. I need a guy that's flexible. Jeff McNeil, man, second base outfield eligible, guy who's killing it right now. And mad props to him. His seasonal numbers are still terrible. He's hitting 240 with a 295 on base percentage for the season. Terrible numbers. But the last 3 weeks, he has been on his game. And as I've noted, would not be a shock if he hit 290 with a 350 on base percentage the rest of the way. He does that, hitting in the middle of the lineup for this team. He becomes Josh Smith of the Rangers in the first half. It's totally usable in most fantasy leagues. Finally, Victor Scott was promoted. Given an opportunity because of the fact that Dylan Carlson's no longer gone, part of the Cardinals. Ciani is dealing with an injury. So here comes Victor Scott. And Victor Scott is blazing fast. There is certainly the potential for him at some point in his career to steal 50 bases plus. There's no doubt that he could do that. He's a very talented player with a nice offensive game minus power. Now, the problem is he has not hit this season at all. In the big leagues, he's 5 for 62. He did not hit down at AAA either. He stole bases, but he didn't hit, didn't get on base. And we can all dream on the speed piece. Like if you need speed, Ray, I need steals. Victor Scott. Hope you catch lightning in a bottle. But the fact is, his lack of production offensively at the major league level and the minor league level is pretty staggering this year for a guy who's been very successful leading up to this season. He's got a chance to play. He was in the lineup yesterday, went over 3, got a strikeout. He's got a chance to see some significant work in the short term. If he were to catch fire, we could be in a Victor Robles type of scenario with him. If he keeps doing what he's doing now, he'll be at the minor league level in another week. I'm not telling anyone to go pick up Victor Scott. Just putting it out there as a guy that maybe the guy that needs to be on your radar, and you make the determination of whether or not that's something you need to act on. Ranger Suarez, let's give a little bit of update on Ranger Suarez and his health scenario. Ranger Suarez, who's on the IL with that back issue of his, through a bullpen session yesterday. It doesn't seem like he's going to be returning when he's eligible on Thursday. Sounds like Kobe Allard's at least going to make another turn to the rotation. But if I had to guesstimate, I would guesstimate Suarez is back next week. So, not a long-term thing. Okay, a little shorter term, but still some more time. Not likely to be activated to make a start this week. That's what I'm thinking at this moment in time. Gabriel Moreno strained his left groin. We don't know what that means. Now, if you're in a one-catcher league, you hear Moreno's name, you probably don't give a damn. If you're in a two-catcher league like I am, and I have Gabriel Moreno, that hurts to hear. He has not been great this season. He's hitting 260 with 5 home runs. But he's another one of these guys that really had caught fire of late. The last 3 weeks, he was hitting 356 with a 412 on base percentage and a 489 slugging percentage. He's really hitting, and now he has a groin issue. So we'll wait and see, get some information hopefully today with him. But if you're in a league and you've got Gabriel Moreno, you've got to be making plans right now to go in a different direction because it seems likely a groin issue for a catcher. Seems like he's going on the injury list, and the timing of it's pretty bad, obviously. Finally, Michael Harris, he's going to start his rehab assignment today at AAA. He's been out forever. I think June 15th was his last game because of that strained hamstring. He's eligible to return on the 14th of this month. So I think everything we've heard of late is that they've been very cautious and very slow with his recovery process. They're very confident that the hamstring is healed. There's a high level of expectation that on August 14th, Michael Harris is back in the lineup for the Braves and good to go. If that's the case, he could have a 6-week run here, real difference-making production because he is a tremendous baseball player. We'll see. We'll follow the next couple of days really closely to see if that indeed does happen next week. But that is apparently what's going to happen for the outfielder of the Braves. All right, let's look at the chat room here a little bit. Rubby17 says, being a Cubs fan, the White Sox will finally get a win this Friday when they play. Oh, come on. It's so funny. I know it's like, the curse of the GOAT and the whole thing. They won the World Series years ago, right? I don't know. I grew up in San Francisco. My whole life I've been in the Bay Area. And when I was a kid, the Giants were terrible. They were awful when I was a kid. Then they had some success in the 80s and 90s, Mitchell and Clark, and had some success. Then they struggled again. Then they were going to move. They almost moved to Tampa Bay. For those people that forgot that, they almost moved. Then they got Barry Bonds and things started to improve. And then for another 10 years after they got Bonds, it was like, oh man, we're okay, but come on, nothing's really happening. Then they had that great decade, and then they've kind of struggled while maintaining mediocre results, right, the last couple of years. But I never had that fatalistic attitude like some Cubs fans do or some sports fans do. I never thought, oh, well, yeah, we're going to lose, of course. I just never, and it's so funny that I say that because for those of you that have interacted with me over the years, you probably get the sense, and I've even said it directly here. I'm a glasses half empty guy. I've always been a glasses half empty guy. I use that as a reason to improve. I always think you can do better. Even when you're doing well, there's always a way to get better. So you would think I'd be like, oh, we're going to be the ones that lose. I've never looked at it. My team's that way. I don't know. I guess a lot of people don't have that same experience. John G says, man, did you see Freeman being interviewed? Tearjerker. I was late. Sorry if you talked about it. I didn't talk about it, John, today. I did talk about it. It was yesterday on the show. His child's got Guillain-Barré. I mentioned that my cousin has Guillain-Barré. She was hospitalized when she was 5, 6 is when it happened to her. Geez, that might even be wrong. It happened so long ago. It was 40 years ago now. Maybe she was 3 or 4. Like she was really young, and it was a stressful time for the family. And again, I was 10 years old or whatever I was at the time. It was stressful for me. I didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what was going on. All these tests, I was concerned, is she going to be okay? Is she going to live? Then it's, what is her life going to look like and all that. And my cousin's gotten married, had kids, she's had a normal life. She's a teacher. But it's a big deal. And so, yeah, I mean, going through that, and we say it all the time, like if you really care about someone, right? It sucks when you have bad things happen, but when you care about someone else, the worst thing in the world is have them have the problems. And when you start talking about caring for someone who's a child, I mean, I don't have kids, so, I don't have that experience personally, but I'm not oblivious to the fact that, what's more important than a child, right? So we'll wish the child well, wish the parents well. I mentioned yesterday on the show, John, that, Freddy Freeman's like 6,300 today on DraftKings. I was just looking at it before the show. It's like, I don't know where Freeman's mentally at right now. And so it's very difficult, if we're bringing it back to the fantasy space, very difficult to start Freddy Freeman this week and feel good about it, to play him this week and feel good about it. I hope that the child's okay. I hope that he's okay. I hope he's in a good mental space, all that kind of stuff. And he's Freddy Freeman. He's a spectacular baseball player. But it's a game of baseball, and you can't have any distraction at all and hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball and an 89-mile-an-hour slider. You can't do it. So I wish him well, and I hope that we don't see a funk here in him offensively. And I don't think we will. To be fair, he's Freddy Freeman. But yeah, I'd be cautious with utilizing him this week. But fingers crossed for him and the family, and hopefully everything turns out okay there. So there you go. Angelo has a comment. According to Kevin Roth, weather's not looking good in LA. Angels and Yankees today. Storm rolling in at the East Coast. Might miss a bunch of games this week. Yeah, I always look at the weather report for my cash game breakdown at fantasyguru.com. I note it all the time. There are decisions that I want to make that I don't make because of weather. Last week, as an example, the Blue Jays and the Yankees were playing each other. I had a bet for Vladimir Guerrero over the 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. I had a bet for Juan Soto over the 1.5 hits and RBIs. 100% convinced that was going to happen. The weather was all messed up. I didn't know if the game was going to be played. Then the game's going to be delayed at the start. So I just didn't tell anyone to bet it. I went 2 for 2 that night with the bets I did place. And then Soto and Vlad. And I even commented when I posted the bets at fantasyguru.com in Discord. I said, look, this weather's messing up my Toronto Yankee stack, my play that I want to give here. So I hit the 2 bets I had that I put out in public. The other 2 bets that I wanted to put in that were my first top 2 of the night, Vlad and Soto, I didn't because of the weather, and they both hit 2. I would have been 4 for 4. And so our users would have enjoyed a perfect night. They still did, but it was 2 for 2 instead of 4 for 4. So I know this weather thing, as I look outside, and it's 70 degrees here in California and sunny. As I go through this, there's been a lot of games this year in particular as well on Thursdays. When you do the cash game breakdown at FG, we have to have at least 5 games played. If it's less than 5 games on the slate, we don't do a cash game breakdown because then you're verging into the GPP zone, right? There's just not enough of a base to select players from when it's smaller than 5 games. And there have been multiple times this year, Angelo, where I have written up a cash game breakdown for a 5-game slate, posted it, and then we've had a game canceled because of the rain. And when that happens, again, we're not pushing on anybody to play a cash game breakdown completely invalidates my 5 hours of work. It ruins it. And you want to be frustrated about your team not playing, or, like, try working on something for 5 hours and having it useless. Try working on it for 5 hours at 4 a.m. and have it be useless. Believe me, I got some bones to pick, as we've said all along this year on this show in particular, with these places that don't have domes. And again, weird things happen, freak storms happen. The weather's the weather, but it certainly does seem like there's been a lot of games impacted this year, right? So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. I'll definitely note that in my cash game breakdown if it's something that pops. The early run through here would say start all the Yankees against the Angels, right? I think that's a pretty safe bet against the youngster on the Hill Davis. But we'll continue to monitor that. And we also always have somebody in the Discord at fantasyguru.com. So the hour before lineup lock for the DFS space. If you want to get involved, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. Say you want to sign up for MLB DFS the rest of the way. We always have somebody in the Discord helping to answer questions and mold lineups, because this stuff does change, right? It's not to the level of basketball where we think a guy's going to play and 15 minutes before the game he's ruled out. But the weather is something that we have to deal with, and it'll be another thing that we're dealing with again today. So there we go, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. We'll be back again tomorrow here on Fantasy Sports Daily. Again, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, PM. That's 9 a.m. Pacific Time, Monday through Friday. Tomorrow's a Wednesday, so we'll have Armando Marsal on. We'll start our football discussion about a half hour in. Go to FG.com, click that subscribe button, sign up for the football product. You can get the DFS product, the wagering product, the seasonal product. You can get all of them. Hit us up in Discord. We'll help you set your lineups, trades, drafts, player evaluation, all that kind of stuff. I'm in there every day for baseball still. We have not abandoned you on this show or at the site with baseball. I'll have my cash game breakdown coming out here in a couple of hours. I'll have my my closer grid update this afternoon. I'll try to sneak in a couple of bets as well. As I noted, I've got a podcast that I'm recording for the football product that won't go up for a couple of days, but recording that today. A lot going on at FG.com. So hopefully you enjoyed this show. Hopefully it'll lead to you subscribing to the site if you haven't already. Please tell a friend about the show. Let's get these numbers up. That always helps us out a little bit too. So appreciate all of that. Anything you can do is greatly appreciated. I'm Ray Flowers. You can follow me at The Ray Flowers on the various social medias. I got some work to do, and I'm going to get to it. Thanks for joining me today. I'll see you again tomorrow at 12 o'clock noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, right here on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.